Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson today. We're spicing it up with a little Judge Judy.
All right, so W versus Pratt. Step forward, please.
38-year-old police officer Mark Donahue is suing his ex-girlfriend, exotic dancer Cynthia Pratt, 30, for not repaying a loan for her breast implants.
Mr. W., according to your complaint, sir, you made a loan to the defendant. In order for her to have breast augmentation surgery, you gave her $2,350.
Yes, Your Honor.
You broke up, she won't pay you back.
That's correct.
Okay, so why don't you tell me how this loan came about, sir?
Cindy and I started dating in January 1996 and up until November 1997. In August of 1996, we went to Sturgis, South Dakota. It's a motorcycle rally annual event that happens there. And after this motorcycle rally, she had expressed the desire to have breast implants done because there's a lot of skin that's shown up there in Sturgis.
We talked about it before.
So we had discussed it up until, the beginning of 1997. She decided that she was going to go ahead and go through with it. And she had told me that she was not going to go to Sturgis in 1997, that the following August, if she didn't have it done. She made an appointment for the surgery. The date was set. She was working at the time, and she had the funding arranged. She was working for a mortgage company and had several loans that she was going to close, so she had the funding arranged for it. And I had been telling her all along that, don't do this for me, do it for yourself. I loved her the way she was. So the day of the surgery came, and she had not had the funding because her loans had fallen through that she was going to close. But we had talked about me loaning her the money, and that I would only be able to loan her half the money, and she would be able to provide the other half. So we went to my credit union, and I withdrew $2,350 to make up for the in addition to the $1,650 that she had.
So she had enough.
$4,000, yes.
Okay.
And so after I withdrew the checks, I had her sign a promissory note that was notarized at the credit union.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Surgery was done. You broke up several months later.
Yes.
Were any payments made whatsoever within the 2 months that this promissory note indicates the balance was to be fully paid?
None whatsoever.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
She had made reference that periodically she would say, well, I need to pay you back. I know I owe you that money, but I don't have it. But I never saw a dime of it. I'm not seeing one.
Mark, you did.
Miss Pratt, don't talk to him. Are you finished now, sir?
Yes.
Good. I'll hear you.
My very first check that I got with my first loan that closed, I did sign.
Don't talk to him.
I signed it over to him.
And how much was that for?
I don't even remember. It was a long time ago. I don't even remember.
You would know if you gave him any money. This wasn't so long ago. It was less than a year ago.
Correct, but I did sign over a check to him. I believe it was only a couple $100. I really don't remember how much the amount was.
All right, so assuming that that's true, assuming that you got a check and you signed it over to him for a couple of $100. This note says that it's to be paid within 2 months. Now, I read your answer. I don't know what your defense is. You want to tell me what your defense is?
Mark knew that I wasn't going to be able to pay him back. After my job had changed and my commission had turned into a salary, he knew that I couldn't afford it. I was stressing on by just making the ends meet. And I told Mark, I said, I'm never going to be able to pay you back. And he said, I know. And it never came up again. We never discussed it. Nothing. It was never brought up again of me paying him back. So I just assumed that I didn't need to pay him back. Why should I pay him back? He knew that he wanted this as much as I did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have to decide what your theory of defense is, Miss Pratt. Okay? Theory of defense. Does that bring a note to you?
Mm-hmm.
Either you owed him the money because you agreed that it was a loan, or you don't owe him the money because He wanted you to have the surgery as much as you did, and it was a gift. Now, which is your theory of defense?
I'd say it was a gift. I never asked for the money.
Okay, that's your theory. So your theory of defense, I just want to understand this. And Bird wants to understand this.
I do.
Your theory of defense is that it's a gift. Is that right?
Yeah.
You picked the wrong one. Because if your theory of defense is not that it's a gift, then you don't sign a promissory note. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,350. That's all.
Thanks, sir. Excuse you, may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And now forward, please.
Journalist Donald Iarussi says Kenny Kramer, the inspiration for Seinfeld's Kramer, did not pay him for working on his Kramer for Mayor campaign. Kramer says no one was paid.
Order, all rise. That's case number 456 on the calendar in the matter of Iarussi versus Kramer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
Well, this is a rather interesting complaint. Mr. Iarussi, according to your complaint, you became involved with the defendant's campaign when he decided to run for mayor of New York City. And I gather from your papers and from his response that he decided to run for mayor because he had developed a certain celebrity, because the character of Kramer from that wonderful Seinfeld program was fashioned after him. Is that right, sir?
This is a fact, Your Honor.
You're much better looking.
Thank you.
So you became involved with this fiasco because even I'm sure Mr. Kramer over here knew that it was fiasco.
Mm-hmm. I don't think so, Your Honor.
Well,
that was a serious intent at the time I began this campaign.
Mr. Kramer, New York City is an interesting place. And I've lived in New York most of my adult life. And having seen you, sir, and having watched your character for many, many years, I will tell you that you're an interesting character, but I wouldn't let you run a city. We've had that already in New York. So, you became involved in this fiasco.
Yes, Your Honor.
That I assume you believe you're an intelligent human being?
I believe so, most of the time.
And you are a New Yorker?
Yeah, a New Yorker.
So, as a New Yorker, you're supposed to have a certain amount of common sense, know where it's at, know what's real, know what's not real, know when it's raining, know when somebody else is doing something on your leg. You're supposed to know all those things, right?
Well, I do,
So you became involved with this thing sort of on a lark.
Something like that.
Sure. And so you're suing him because you say that he promised to pay you 50 cents a piece for the signatures that you got on a petition.
And I did a great job.
Just a second.
Okay.
50 cents a piece for the signatures that you got on a petition so that he could get his name on the ballot.
Yes.
How many signatures?
7,500.
How many did you get?
We got over 7,500.
Did you pay anybody else for getting signatures?
No, Your Honor.
Then you decided, enough of this foolishness and I'm throwing in the towel.
It became a lot of work.
Yeah. What kind of work do you usually do?
I run a reality tour, a Kramer's reality tour. I show for Seinfeld fans. It's a multimedia run through the world of Seinfeld, and I have a stage show based on it. And so basically I travel around the country, and I run this tour in New York City every weekend. And that's what I've been doing for a livelihood.
But what are you going to do when Seinfeld goes off the air? You're going to have to get a real job, Mr. Kramer.
I doubt it very much because, there's only 39 Honeymooner episodes, and that's still here. So Seinfeld will finish with 177. It's part of the world's cultural landscape.
Mr. Kramer, what did you do before Jerry Seinfeld made you an icon?
I managed to live through my own entrepreneurial ways. I did stand-up comedy for a number of years. I invented electronic jewelry. I managed a rock reggae band. I had everything to avoid actual work, I might add.
I'm glad you added that. Tell me how he promised to pay you.
Well, let's go back a little and how we actually met at a conference sometime in 1997, and I was putting together some articles, and I had wanted to do an article on Kramer for some Far Eastern magazines. So anyway, Kramer, I went on the reality tour, and I have to admit it's a great tour, and I enjoyed it and had a lot of fun. And so right after that, I started putting some articles together on Kramer, and on April 22nd, I had gotten a letter inviting me to share a moment of history with the real Kramer at 6 p.m. at the Cafe St. Francis. So I went there, and Kramer had about 5 or 10 people there, and they talked about his intention to run for mayor, and people got picked for various positions to basically run the campaign. My duties were to get people to volunteer for the campaign, and anything I could do along that line, and also go out and get signatures myself.
And you got enough bloody New Yorkers.
I got a lot of signatures. I think I'm the best there is in signatures getting, and Kramer will attest to that.
You got a lot of signatures, a lot of good-looking women, a lot of signatures you couldn't use because they weren't citizens, but they were good-looking.
So anyway, there was a time in the campaign where I was putting in a lot of time, so I had talked to the treasurer about not being able to do this because it was too time consuming and needed to work something out. And he says, well, let me throw some money your way, and we'll have some money coming in, and I could offer what's the standard rate for signatures, and it's pretty much 50 cents a signature in New York if you do that. Go out and get signatures. So I agreed to that with him, and went going.
Where is he?
He couldn't be here today, Your Honor.
Well, you didn't bring him here. You can't tell me what he said to you. You can't tell me that he agreed.
I couldn't get in touch with him.
Well, that's not my problem, so that's your problem.
So anyway,
tell me what conversations you had with the defendant.
So Kenny and I had some conversations after that, and after the campaign was over, Kenny decided to back out of the campaign and not go any further. We both had other work and went different ways, and Kenny started traveling a little, and he was really out of pocket. And I had some things coming out where I figured, well, then if there isn't money in the campaign, or I'm not able to get in touch with his campaign treasurer, maybe he could do some appearances for me. And he agreed he would do an appearance for fundraising. And that was
fundraising for what?
Oh, I do a lot of work with nonprofit organizations, and I've won awards for my rape awareness public service announcements about for rape crisis centers.
So
I put together 30
he would do an appearance
PSAs.
for you.
Right, so he said he would do an appearance for me, and then
Did he do that? Did he do an appearance for you?
No, he did not.
Okay.
But he was also very busy, and I did keep trying to reach him, and there was never an anger about this. It's just that.
So when did you get angry, Mr. Irizui?
Well, I never get angry. I think he's a wonderful person and a good human being. I just think he owes me the money.
Just a second. Well, when did you decide that you wanted the money?
About a month ago.
About a month ago?
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was an intern on the Kramer for Mayor campaign, and I just want to say that at no time did Kramer act improperly towards me at all.
And later today,
I don't find, sir, that part of your lawsuit is legitimate for this court. Do you understand? That is all I'm entertaining, sir. Do you understand? Period. End of discussion. I'm telling you what it is. If you wish to leave, you can leave.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donald Iarussi wants former mayoral candidate Kenny Kramer to pay him for working on his campaign. Kramer says no one was paid.
I have a couple of questions for you. Did you ever have a direct conversation with Mr. Kramer wherein Mr. Kramer said that he was going to pay you for working on his campaign?
No, I did not. I did not.
So, is there any other person here that you had a direct conversation with who was attached to his campaign?
Well, I talked to John Seminary. Yes.
You didn't hear my question.
Go ahead.
Is there another person here who was attached to his campaign who you had a conversation with about payment of 50 cents each for the signatures that you gathered?
Yes.
And who was that?
John Seminarian.
Where is he?
He's seated to the left of Kramer.
Step up here, sir.
I was Kenny's campaign manager from the whole time before that meeting began. We had hoped the campaign would be a little more successful. What we had thought would be we had hats and pins and bumper stickers and T-shirts. made, and we hoped that those funds would be able to kick off the campaign as far as the fundraising goes. And that never materialized. We had felt that the mayor
People in New York are that stupid.
Well, no, we had felt that the
Could you answer my question? Could you answer the question for me? I mean, this is not a catharsis for you, sir.
No, it's not.
Did you ever,
no,
as campaign manager?
No.
How come you always anticipate this? I feel like Johnny Carson and Carnac. They answer my question before I ask the question. Listen to me. Did you ever tell the plaintiff that he was going to be paid for gathering signatures?
Yes, we had spoken. And
about what?
About some money for out-of-pocket expenses because people were traveling on the subway by themselves.
Right.
There were times, and I know there was a rainstorm, and I was caught with a bunch of people, and I went for a few rounds. So
what does that mean, a few rounds?
Well, I paid for a few beers and some drinks for people. So,
Mr. Ursi, I gather you had a conversation with him wherein it was discussed that you had certain expenses and what were you going to do about it, if anything. And he said, we'll try to take care of some of your expenses, and if we can't, we'll try to work out some other way to make you happy. Is that about it?
No, that's not.
How does that translate into 50 cents a signature?
No, that translated into a money amount where we also talked about a personal appearance. What
Just
I would
a
do.
second. Was there any time frame with regard to this personal appearance?
I emailed Kramer on July 10th, and he responded saying, let me know the date and time.
So did you tell him? Did you give him a date and time?
I did, but he was, no, not a definite one because he was out of town.
So did you give him a date when you wanted him to appear and give him sufficient time so that he wasn't doing all this traveling so he could appear for you? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
And when was that?
July 10th, 1997.
Do you remember receiving that email?
I may have, Your Honor, but as Mr. Ruzzi said, I have been traveling a great deal. But, one thing I'd like to make clear now, the dispute that he claims is about these signatures. But I'd like to just enter into evidence, if I may, some of these sheets of signatures.
Listen to me. You don't have to bother. Because I find that there was no agreement with regard to payment for signatures.
Well, even if there was, the signatures are totally invalid. There are 15 signatures on our page. Every one of them is women.
What's wrong with women?
Well, and many of them from illegible. You can't read signatures. You can't, So the point is, if you're paying for signatures, it should be a valid signature.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today.
Mr. Colton, you're supposed to file a lawsuit because it's a legitimate lawsuit, not because you're using it as a sword of Damocles that you're holding over somebody's head.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donald Iarussi wants former mayoral candidate Kenny Kramer to pay him for working on his campaign. Kramer says no one was paid.
Mr. Kramer, I haven't heard any testimony that is in any way persuasive that there was a contract, an employment contract, even if it was as an independent contractor, for him to be paid for those signatures. What I have heard is, and what I tend to believe, is that he was supposed to be in some way compensated for all the hard work that he did. There was never a fixed amount, but that you did in fact assure him that you would make a personal appearance for him at one of his fundraisers. Now, isn't that true?
That is true, Your Honor.
And all I'm trying to find out is whether you welched on that agreement.
And I'm available to make a personal appearance at any time and date that I'm available for.
Well, then this is perfect. We have a fine resolution to this case. Sir, I find that there was no contractual arrangement between you and the defendant to pay you for the signatures. However, I do find that he did agree, either through himself or through his manager, to compensate you for some out-of-pocket expenses, and you agreed to take the services of Mr. Kramer in compensation or in lieu of the dollar amount, and Mr. Kramer has indicated that he is prepared to follow through with that. So it's been a pleasure meeting you. I wish you continued success. Your case is dismissed.
Thank you.
Step out. I'll be back up to you right this.
Look, I just want to say here and now that I was an intern on the Kramer for Mayor campaign, and I just want to say that at no time did Kramer act improperly towards me at all. Okay, I just want to make that very clear, because we are in a sort of semi-legal, semi-media setting. I just want to make that clear. No soiled clothing of any kind, nothing.
And now the next case.
All parties on Crawford versus D'Amato. Step forward, please.
39-year-old medical salesman John Kofed is suing his on-again, off-again lover of 5 years, Gwen D'Amato.
Well, I've tried to make heads and tails out of these papers. A brief statement of the facts in these cases are what's usually asked for. You folks wrote a novella with regard to your complaint and your answer. But I gather from these papers that you were in a long personal and business relationship with each other, neither of which worked out.
Correct.
And sir, you allege that during that time you advanced vast sums of money to the defendant, which are not the subject of this lawsuit. You understand that? Because you say that she owes you some $25,000. That's not the jurisdiction of this court.
I understand that, Your Honor.
So that what you are asking for is the personal property that you left behind when she told you to leave.
Well, actually, Your Honor, I'm asking for up to $5,000, which is within this jurisdiction of this court. I've given you documentation showing over $20,000 that I advanced on behalf of the defendant.
Well, sir, let me ask you this question. Why, if you have documentation to show that she owes you $25,000, why would you sell it for $5,000?
Well, Your Honor,
No
the
barking.
defendant has
No
assets
barking.
left in her name whatsoever. She's got somebody that's taking care of her, who's bought her a vehicle, who's buying her a home, who's given her
I heard
thousands
that.
of dollars of cash. I have absolutely no chance of recovering anything from this woman if I have a judgment against her anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
sir, now what we're going to talk about is the personal property that you left behind. Do you understand? You just told me that if you get a judgment against her, it's an empty judgment. Right? Is that
not
right?
exactly, Your Honor.
Well, that's what you just told me, sir.
I did tell you that, Your Honor. The reason that I filed this case to begin with is because I'm continually harassed by the defendant. I had a temporary restriction.
Just a second. Just a second.
I had the defendant place a temporary restraining order against me without supporting facts, which was thrown out in court by a judge on June the 20th. At that time, I served her with a small claims case so that I had something legally against her that I could always hold in my hands in case she tried to do something again against me.
Mr. Colford, what you've just told me is you're abusing the court system. When you file a lawsuit, you're supposed to file a lawsuit because it's a legitimate lawsuit, not because you're using it as a sort of Damocles that you're holding over somebody's head. If you have a problem with her with regard to filing false complaints against you, then there is a cause of action that you can file against her. What I'm telling you now, sir, is the only thing that I'm dealing with in this case is the property that you say that you left behind, which you say totals, I've read these papers even though they kept me up half the night trying to figure them out, $1,025. And since you say she doesn't have any money, we're going to talk about the property. Do you understand?
Yes, I
do. You understand?
I understand, Your Honor, but
I want you to understand.
am I not within my rights, Your Honor, to sue her for what she has borrowed from me and not pay back and for property that I paid for?
I don't find, sir, that part of your lawsuit is legitimate for this court. Do you understand?
I understand.
Fine. Take that to civil court where the jurisdiction is beyond the $5,000 jurisdiction of this court. That is all I'm entertaining, sir. Do you understand? Period. End of discussion. I'm telling you what it is. If you wish to leave, you can leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm talking about a Toshiba microwave, a Panasonic 2-line business speakerphone, Sears Kenmore vacuum cleaner, heavy duty, miscellaneous dishes, Tupperware, clothes, and appliances. Total value of plaintiff's property in defendant's possession, $1,025. That is what I'm hearing today. Do you understand that?
Your Honor, I can't afford to take her to civil court and hire an attorney.
Fine, then let's deal with the property that's here.
But my case is for the money that she took from me also.
Mr. Comfort, do you want me to consider the items here that you outline that she has in her possession that belong to you? Do you want me to consider those items?
What I would like you to consider, Your Honor, is exactly what I wrote down was money and property taken.
This case is dismissed, that's all.
Judge, you may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And step forward, please.
22-year-old insurance salesperson Damian Norris says former roommate Krista DeReamer, age 22, skipped out on rent and fees. Krista is countersuing Damian for telling her parents she was an exotic dancer.
Order. All rise. Yes.